All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the CARES Act Allocation Committee, Monday, December 28th, 2020, to order. I am Chairman Jarrett Sanchez. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Fries,
Here.
Kenyon,
Here.
Martin, Molina,
Molina present.
Shepro,
Here.
Surges, and Sanchez.
Okay. First thing first, I need an approval. Oh, Mr. Martin is here. I need an approval, motion and a second for approval of the minutes of December 16th, 2020. Mr. Shepro moves, Mr. Kenyon seconds. Any discussions, comments, corrections? Seeing none, any on the phone? Okay, clerk, could you call the roll?
Fries,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Shepro,
Yes.
Surges. Okay, pass.
All right, public comment. I know there was one person who signed up to speak, but we've been in email communication with him. But just in case he is here, Dr. Denise, if you're on the line, I know you had signed up to speak. No? Okay. Yes, like I said, he was in communication. If there's anyone else present that would like to leave public comment, please say so now. Seeing none, we'll move on. Discussion items, status of funds, funds available for current distribution. Carolyn Brady from the Treasurer's Office.
Hi, Chairman Sanchez, County Board members. The current balance is $43.4 million. We issued checks for the small business per the state's attorney of 2 runs totaling $500,000. We ran a run for Mr. Berger for $54,000. And all those checks were mailed. I still have 2 checks in the treasurer's office for the Sugar Grove Park District and the Batavia Park District. They've both been contacted a couple times. So
All
that's
right, excellent. Any questions for Ms. Brady? Mr. Shepro?
Did the Fox River Fire District pick up their check?
I know the fire districts that we had issued picked up their checks. I'm not sure if that was one of them.
Was not. This is Fabiola Guzman.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? The Treasurer's Office. Thank you, Ms. Brady.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, application process, time frame. Oh, okay, thank you. We have Assistant State's Attorney, Ms. Michelle Neerman. Do you have anything for us on the application process? Right now, we only have Scott Berger's programs. Actually, those aren't even open, I don't think, except the cultural institution.
I would ask Ms. Guzman, who's on the line, to address
Okay.
application status.
Ms. Guzman, do you have anything to add for this discussion item?
Right now, all of the governmental units have been processed. They're in some state of reimbursement. We're going through supporting documentation right now to get them checks. Small businesses they have a funding agreement that was sent out over the weekend, and those are coming in very rapidly. So we're going through them as fast as possible to get them processed for payment. Nonprofits have also been issued, and those are being processed as we receive them.
Okay, so that covers also timing of distributions. How much did you say went out last week for the round 1 small business program? Was it over $500,000?
A little over $500,000, yes.
In checks that are going out already, that have been sent out?
That have been sent out and received.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, a little update so you guys all know. Already got $500,000 out there. And we're getting caught up. So businesses should start seeing those checks showing up in the mail, anytime. Okay, are there any questions from anyone? Mr. Shepro?
It's my understanding that the bill that was signed last night extends certain aspects for a year, but not any new money.
Yes, that's correct. As
That's
far as
correct.
I understand it, the timeline extension, we were under, it was December 30th, 2020, and now that has been extended to December 31st, 2021. So a significant extension in the time that we have, although we were planning on December 30th, so we're in line to be ready by December 30th, knowing that we have a little extra time, at least give some of our staff, maybe a little relief. Yeah, so that's what we know right now. Not any new money coming in for local governments. We've heard talk that some people in Congress will be pushing for that this year, and trying to get more money out. But as of right now, at least we have a 1-year extension on our deadlines. So that gives us a little time for paperwork. But Mr. Sturgis, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you've stepped in, I feel communication flow has really been top flight, and I just wanted to publicly acknowledge that there's been several incidences that where constituents have reached out, small business owners, and I've been able to say, Jared has opened the portal and is willing to take point and try and communicate that, 24 board members, if each of us had 3 or 4, that'd be 100 inquiries coming through, and having one person act as that hub or portal has actually been much easier, and Jared has responded most of the time within 48 hours. And I know that you're working with Fabiola and Scott and Michelle, and I just wanted to acknowledge that that's so appreciated and lets us get out there. And even the chambers of commerce, I know Melissa reached out and I pointed her to you. Not sure she was happy with me, but I pointed her to you and said, you know what, Jared's got this, and it's easier to have one portal. And so just for what it's worth, I'm sure that increased your activity and responsibilities. And I just want to acknowledge that. So
I appreciate that. Thank you. Anything we can do to help smooth the process, especially here at the end of the whole long journey we've been going under. Mr. Frost.
Would it be possible for us to get a printout of the approved business loans? Because that's what I get the most calls about. And it'd be easier if I could just refer to a spreadsheet or something like we've been getting.
Yeah, Fabiola, do you have an updated spreadsheet that you could send to the county board, really, but the committee?
The last spreadsheet that is up to date was for the last CAC on last week on the 16th. Given that we were trying to meet that December 30th deadline over the weekend, focus was on getting those funding agreements out. So I do not have one at this time.
Okay.
and there were 2 spreadsheets on that, correct, Drew?
Yeah, it was a little confusing because there's two different ones.
Well,
Yes.
we have one from Fabiola. Actually, there was a bunch of tabs that showed all of the programs that the state's attorney's office was running. So that's one spreadsheet. And then we had another from Scott and OCR that had a different list of the round 2 applicants. So those are the 2 that and then we've been getting these updated ones as we've been approving new businesses. So Fabiola, is that something you could work on and get to us somewhat soon?
Yes, I'll get it to you by Wednesday.
Okay, I really appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you. I know people are still wondering what's going on. Okay, any other questions or comments? Anyone online? No?
I do.
Madam Chair?
Thank you. Is that one on? There. Hi. I received several emails last week regarding the not-for-profit, primarily the arts and entertainment applications. And on both instances, they requested that going forward, we try to make them much less complicated for those organizations. Questions were raised about the amount of work and effort to be able to go through the compliance that was required by this committee for their applications. There were other examples used, the Illinois Arts Council primarily being one of those. And I think, I know we can't change the horse as we're on it right now, but if we do have the opportunity next year to do this again, I would request that we take a look at that and reconsider it for smaller organizations.
Yeah, and you forwarded one to me recently. I have to respond to them still. That is definitely something. If we get more money, local government money from the feds, we'll be able to take a look at what worked with our programs and what didn't work. What can we improve? Taking feedback in from organizations that are offering their feedback. It's always nice to hear what we can do better. So that's something, if we get more money, we're going to take a hard look at that for all of our programs. How can we make it better?
Thank you.
Mr. Martin?
Is my assumption correct that a lot of the reason that we've had the format of application that we've had is to protect the county in the context of the eventual audit? Do we have any idea if and when there's going to be a federal audit? Because that would be a great tool for us to analyze what we're doing here. It may be that everything we're doing, we have to do and more, or that we don't need to do it depending on what their attitude is. But do we know, do we have any projection of when the government's going to look at this?
I don't actually.
Not at this time.
Yeah.
We're not sure what the closeout guidelines will be from the Treasury. So once we get that, we'll be able to wrap our heads around what possibly what the audit will look like.
But if they're extending it for a year, one imagines that might result in them also extending the time in which they would do the audit.
Correct.
Yeah, we don't know. The language that was in the bill just signed last night, it just talks about the deadline for expenditures and contracts to be signed. So it doesn't address, the closeout process. I think right now September 30th is the deadline for all of our bookkeeping and everything.
We had extended contracts through the 30th for KEB.
Okay, yeah.
It was based upon an initial long-term estimate of closeout based upon other grants. So it's just all speculation.
Yeah.
So now it probably will go into it could go into the first, perhaps the second quarter of 2022.
Yeah. If we get more money, something like that. Madam Chair.
Would it be possible if we could get the state's attorney a segment of that, what is it, a 5,000-page bill that just narrows down what we were just asked about so that we could read it?
Yeah, I don't even know that it addresses, again, extending any deadlines for, the audit process, but yeah, we can forward. I think it was KEB sent forward a summary of the CARES Act related stuff in the bill, and it had just one section, one like line or paragraph that related to extending the deadline, and that was pretty much it, right?
Scott Berger actually forwarded a NACO summary to me. I'll forward that to you, to the whole board.
Oh, good. That'd be great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Shepro.
Not sure where this fits, but there was an article in the paper a couple days ago that puzzled me because the Elgin Township supervisor was quoted as saying that they didn't receive any federal CARES Act money and that township governments were excluded from applying.
Yeah, actually, thank you for bringing that up. I didn't think to bring that up today. I spoke with Franklin Ramirez, the Elgin Township supervisor. It is my understanding that the conversation he had with the reporter was in some way misinterpreted. We spoke for about 20 minutes the other day. He understands the program. He understands the availability that was there. And they didn't apply because outside of PPE and things like that, they didn't see any expenses that they would incur. So they didn't apply, and there's no hard feelings there. I think he was just quoted as part of maybe more of a rhetorical question being asked. So it certainly, the reality is that he knows that we're doing our best to take care of this money, and that if we get more money going forward, we'll have that conversation. What will we do with townships as far as the general assistance that they provide to residents? Will we be able to buffet those programs or increase the reach that they have with those programs? So that's just things we can talk about if and when we get there, if we ever get some more money. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up because it was cleared up. And
Good.
Mr. Ramirez understands. Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, let's go to our next item, status on OCR programs. Mr. Berger.
Good afternoon, Chairman Sanchez. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So I have a brief update for the group. Josh Beck has reported to me that he and the team have fielded over 540 calls and emails from potential applicants in the last several days. In the business category, you'll recall we gave you a list of the applicants last week, I believe. Staff have gone through the applications, eliminated those that were duplicate or ineligible, and our list is down to 366 applications, seeking a total of 8.2 million. Staff have reviewed 290 of those applications for completeness and forwarded 88 of them on to KEB for their financial review. Right now, Tracy and our team are working with finance to batch the payments that have been approved and are ready to be processed. I'm told the amount that has already been approved is $840,000 ready for payment. So we'll be working with finance to get those dollars out the door. In the cultural institution category, to date, we have received 16 applications, 6 from historical societies and history museums, 8 from performing and visual arts centers, and 2 from amusement venues. Together, they're seeking $829,000. We are waiting for additional documentation from 2 of those applicants. The remaining 14 have been forwarded on to KEB for their review. And so far, we've received approval to process payments totaling $383,000. It was a busy weekend for us. We did blast out paperwork to about 380 entities, asking them to sign and return those documents to us. And staff are in the process right now of downloading those documents and saving them in the individual files. With the announcement yesterday that the legislation was signed by the president, that does give us some breathing room. But it's been a busy week, and we've been, like Fabiola said, we've been tracking toward December 30th obligation date. So with that legislation, that does give us additional time to process these individual grant applications. So that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question, Scott. Are you guys going to take a day off?
At some point here, yes.
You can take one day off. Not that it's my call, but you have my blessing. I think you guys took off.
Yeah,
Christmas
I feel like we got to act a little bit like Santa's elves and sending out documents to applicants on Christmas Eve. So we're beginning to get those back now.
Excellent. Any questions for Mr. Berger and the programs his office is running? None from the committee? Any online? No? Okay, thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, new business. We have a resolution. This is just going to be in the approval of 2 round 1 business applicants, Batavia Chamber of Commerce and Treadwell LLC, I believe is a coffee shop in Aurora. Heard good things about it. Miss Molina could probably tell us more, but after the meeting, because we're almost done. We're going to get out of here. Can I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially pass this resolution? Mr. Shepro moves, Mr. Frost seconds. Any discussion on this? Any questions? Comments from online? Seeing none, clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Shepro,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
passes.
All right, and I actually had to sign this resolution, so I feel like a legitimate, something's happening. It's the first document I got to sign on the county board, so big win for me. All right, that's it for this. Other business, I have nothing else for other business. You guys don't have anything, Michelle? Mr. Surges?
So this is my first time sitting on this side of the room in the afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and there's got to be some Corona money to save your cornea from what's going on here. This is,
I agree, it's pretty rough.
the blinds and masks tie in somebody.
Yeah.
My question is, I've heard some comments or received some questions regarding the contact tracing amount that we had approved to the health department
Mm-hmm.
and how that relates with the vaccine coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And is that been as effective? Are we going to spend all the money that we dedicated or allocated to that? Or are we pulling that back? And I'm really not sure what the values were there. If they're trivial, I guess it doesn't matter. But to me, in my mind, that was a huge number. That was a huge, huge number. And I don't know that it's still relevant, or maybe it's super relevant. I don't know. But I said I would ask.
Okay. Yeah, I can get an update from the Public Health Department's finance person, Cannell. and get an answer to that question. And I can email the committee, or if it comes up at our next meeting, I don't know when that will be.
And I guess the subsequent to that is, if it's less relevant, is our contract binding, or can we back out? Does anybody remember what that dollar figure was?
I thought it was $5 million.
It was
Yeah, it was around
millions.
5 million for the contact
Yeah,
tracing. I
it was
think.
millions. And if the vaccine is rolling and we're short someplace else, do we have the ability to pull back? If the, am I
Like,
explaining that
is it an
okay?
all or nothing contract, or just as needed?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And can we, and I know everybody's got so much work on their hands,
Mhm.
but this is a big, fat, huge number. And the person that asked me, I respected, and I said, I don't know. I'm happy to ask.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, I'll get an answer. I don't know the specific answer to that question offhand, so.
Okay.
Mr. Shepro?
Yeah, I just from reading about what's happening in other counties, I think the issue was also how effective was the citizen response. McHenry County was reporting that they had something less than 25% of the respondents cooperating with their program, and I think that was considered too low to be useful.
Sorry.
Kane was much higher, but it would seem as if the whole point of contact tracing is to get reliable data. And if enough people are not supplying it to you, then I think the question is, again,
Reallocate that money someplace else.
yeah, what is that the best use of the money if people aren't getting with the program?
Yeah, my understanding is that the money is being spent for that, with that contract, but I don't know if there's anything left over to be used elsewhere. It hasn't come up yet that I know of. I know the Public Health Department gave back some money in contractual services they weren't going to use.
But the question is it really relevant? Is it really, are we getting out of it what we anticipated? Because it was such a urgency and this was the way to go.
Mhm.
And what I'm hearing is,
My understanding is that the numbers have been pretty good compared to other counties. Ms. Molina?
Yes, I guess I would refer you to the Friday, or not Friday, but I think Wednesday's report from the King County Health Department. They indicate that the number of calls they've been making in the last week, the positivity for King County has been 100%. So 100% of the people they've called have decided to provide their information to do the contact tracing effectively. The vaccine rollout is going to take a long time. I don't think we're going to get everybody vaccinated in the next few months. So we're going to still need contact tracers. We're still going to need that information, as far as I know. So I think.
Thank
I
you,
would
thank
look
you
to
for
those
reminding me of that,
reports.
because I thought it was somewhere around 90%.
Yeah.
But we're seeing really good numbers, really good response rates.
did they
from
say what the
contact tracing
sample
program.
size was that they were reaching out to at all?
I don't recall
Yeah,
that.
so right here it said.
100 people or 1,000 people?
Vern is good at pulling it up.
I
Go
just
ahead.
pulled it out. So 18,237 calls have been made this month. 99% of the calls, of the case calls, and 100% of the contact calls were received and contacted within 24 hours. The refusal to participate rate was 0%.
Wow.
So
And so what happens with, and again, I'm not challenging at all. I just didn't read the article. So we reach out to these people and they say, yup-a-doodle, we were in touch with that person. Then what? For $5 million, what do you get with that? What happens then?
So basically, because I took the contact tracing course from Johns Hopkins. So basically what happens is you kind of want to find out where they've been in the last, 2 weeks. But basically in the last 4 days is when you became positive, and you provide as many contact names that you have, where you were at work. Were there any times where you were without a mask for more than 15 minutes face to face with somebody? And then the contact tracer contacts those people and lets them know, you might be at risk of, you might have been at risk. Somebody might have had coronavirus, that you were near, and they ask them to quarantine for 14 days.
Okay.
So that's basically what contact tracers have been doing this whole entire time. So could you imagine if you have one person and they've contacted 10 people, you have to go contact each of those 10 people and then ask them where they've been for the last 4 weeks, for the last 4 days to 14 days. So it's a lot of work. But the more people we have that we contact and the more people who accept the fact that you should quarantine and follow the rules, the less exposure we have for the rest of the members of our county.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's an informational campaign. That's the biggest part of contact tracing. It's getting people aware, hey, you've been in touch with somebody that had it. Maybe you have it. What have you been doing? It creates that awareness in people, so then they start to take some precautions, get tested, things like that.
Again, the model that I've looked at and I think has done the best internationally was Taiwan. And their contact tracing efforts make ours look like we don't know what we're doing. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. So I'm not suggesting that I'm against the program at all, unless we're not getting the results that we anticipated. Then I have to question it. So
Yeah, I think we're getting
again, I
better.
just I have zero feedback at
Yeah,
all. So
I
that's
think we're getting
wonderful.
better than expected results. Madam Chair?
Because we were working under the thought that everything was going to be ending on December 30th, is the contract expiring for contract tracing on December 30th, or is it extended till next year?
I don't know. I would imagine
think
that
it's
still-
terminating on
It terminates
December
and it would
30th.
have to be amended.
I think that, from memory, I believe the health department received grant funding through the state specifically for contract tracing for next year.
Oh, yes,
Or
yeah.
for a
I
few
think
months
that's right.
anyway.
Yeah, I remember. I still need to go over my public health notes.
So, you're right, the sun is,
It's wicked.
yeah, it's not forgiving.
Where's Myrna's illumination?
You're in the shadow.
Have two choices, the sun and dark. Sun
I'll
is
take
better.
sun, I'll take sun.
If you were a
Just little-
practicing
little
attorney,
filtered
you would
right here.
learn in deposition rooms, you always want your opponent to be staring into the sun.
I just keep, I'm 4 feet over from what I was.
When I keep on shifting. So the contract tracing, then they have a grant that's independent of the CARE Act money that will be continuing until next year, is that correct?
Yes, I think that was through the state, through IDPH. And then also in the stimulus bill that was passed, I did see a summary that I believe they're providing funding, additional funding for states for vaccinations and for additional contact tracing programs. I
Okay,
think it was for both things.
very good. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Frost?
I just have a question for Fabiola or Scott. I got a call from the Aurora Children's Museum, the management, and they made an application and they were just a little concerned because they didn't seem to, it seemed to me they would fit into the museum category, but they said since they're not a historical museum, they applied under the amusement category. They may also fall under not-for-profit, so I would just ask them if they're, are they aware of that? And if they could give them some help or guidance as to what would be the best category?
Yeah, I can
Mr.
respond
Chairman,
to that.
was that SciTech?
Yes.
Thank you.
Scott, I didn't
Yeah, I
hear
can
you.
respond to that. Yeah, I can respond to that. The resolution that the board passed specifically defined the Historical Society and History Museums as organizations that focus on history. It was not a general category for all types of museums. So I think you are correct. I believe they attempted to apply as an amusement venue, but you'll recall this committee and the board defined amusement venue very specifically. And I did consult Mr. Sanchez on that agency because we did not see that they met those eligibility standards.
Okay, so they don't fit any standard or just that particular one, or?
They didn't fall
Yeah,
within
they
any of the
don't.
categories.
They don't fit into any of the cultural
No.
institution categories that I have county board approval of.
Okay, thank you.
Can we help them on that?
Ms.
This is
Bates?
Mavis Bates.
Yeah, at this point in time, I don't know that there's any way we can. We're so far along in the process. We're prepared to be done by December 30th. So as far as available monies, I'm not aware of any. So this late in the game, it's hard to make those changes.
Well, why was it made to be only historical museums?
It was the result of the conversations that occurred from this committee in the previous iteration of this committee. And that was just one of the parameters that we had set up.
I would just add that I believe the state of Illinois established some museum assistance programming. I'm not familiar with the details of it, but I think it may have been broader and they may be eligible and could pursue that.
Who can I call for help on that?
So I can look for a contact. I don't have one handy at this,
Call
at
your
this time.
legislators.
Mavis, you and I can work with Barbara Hernandez and we can try to help Mrs. Hawks on that situation.
Okay,
Be happy
thank
to help
you. Thanks, everybody.
Mr. Shepro, you had another?
Yeah, I was just going to comment that given the extraordinary amount of work that this committee and its predecessor committee did, I think it was a remarkable effort. Would we have done differently if we had 2 years to do it? I mean, quite possibly. I think there were a lot of decisions made because there was no time to do what you might have done had you had an infinite amount of time. And, does that mean some people fell through the cracks? Yes. But I just think that the effort that was made before I arrived on the scene, just watching what you had done previously, was a remarkable effort to put all of those rules together in fairly understandable language. And that just, it's unfortunate that not everybody got what they might have wanted to, but you had all kinds of constraints to deal with. So that's just my observation about the process.
I think we did the best we could with what we had, so.
I would comment even further on that, that it's pretty tough to hit a moving target. And from the inception of this, we would do something on Wednesday that changed Wednesday afternoon, or do something on Tuesday that morphed on Wednesday.
And I appreciate the enormity of this. Thank you, everybody.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, that's it for other business. No need for executive session. Could I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
Just a quick question. Is there any reason, especially with the extension, that this committee would need to meet before the end of the year?
Before the end of the year? No. I mean, that's 3 days from now, so we wouldn't even have time. I don't know when the next meeting is. We don't have a date set for another meeting that I'm aware of. So it'll probably be in a couple weeks. Mr. Berger, if you're still on the line, did you, when we spoke recently, didn't you say there'd probably be something in a couple weeks we'd have to come back for?
I'm not aware of any pending business that you'll need to conduct.
Okay.
But certainly we'll be in touch with you and the state attorney's office in the event something arises.
Okay.
If it would be in order, then I would move that that this meeting be adjourned and that the committee meet at the call of the chair.
Yes, that is essentially it. It's going to get pretty quiet for this committee for now.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
All right. Mr. Shepard motions, Mr. Sturgis seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you all for being here.